Hello, hello there, my crafty friends. It's Candy here from sweetstamper.com, and I'm going to do a little technique video with you today. I recently did this card on Facebook Live, and I was showing you how to color these beautiful mallard ducks from the Stylish Sketches stamp set. Well, I had a few mishaps on camera because this was live TV, as it were. So I redid the coloring. And at the same time, I also decided to use a mint macaron card base. Makes a big difference. So one of the things I changed here was on my first card, I did all of the blending brush work before I stamped. Well, that meant that I had a little bit of color on my ducks. This time I did it afterwards, which gave me a little bit more of a true color on my ducks. I think these look a little bit muddier. So you have a little bit more white space here. I also changed up the coloring a little bit on the ducks. So I just wanted to show you how I did that. I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm going to ink up the ducks from the Stylish Sketches. Beautiful, beautiful artwork on this stamp set that is free during celebration. That is while supplies last through the end of August 2021. Now there are no greetings with Stylish Sketches, so I pulled out Go-To Greetings, and I'm just using a classic greeting here. On my original, I did just a note. This time I'm doing thank you. Now, one of the things I like to do whenever I'm using Memento ink and I'm going to add color is I like to let it sit for just a minute. So I'm actually going to bring in a second piece of this basic white cardstock, and I'm going to do this again, and the reason being is I'm going to show you how to get a pretty similar look using the same color scheme, but a little bit softer, because this time I'm going to do it with the watercolor pencils. This is watercolor month within the Stampin' Up! World, and I thought that not only would this be a fun way to showcase the watercolor pencils, but also show you just a side-by-side look at what happens when you use blends versus using the watercolor pencils. Just really, more than anything, it's a difference in the saturation. I will say that if you are on a fairly tight budget, if you are just beginning to amass your card making supplies, you get a lot of bang for your buck with the watercolor pencils. Now there's two sets, and there's I think they're just called like set 1 and set 2. I actually put all of mine together, so I can't really tell them apart. And I've pulled the ones that I'm going to use today right here. Okay, there we go. So my blending brushes are here, and I'm going to do that second. Before I do that, there's one other little thing I'm going to do, and that is I'm going to put just a little strip of crumb cake cardstock. I'm going to stamp it with crumb cake ink just to give a little bit of interest to my card. This is actually a simple stamping card. Simple stamping is a term that Stampin' Up! Came up with to denote that we're using pretty much stamps, ink, and paper. Now there might be another item or two. So they also issue a hashtag simple stamping challenge each month. And I like to participate in those and do usually several projects with it. And so for the month of July, it is stamps, ink, paper, plus ribbon. And I'm going to incorporate a little bit of ribbon into my card. Now, I am positive that my tuxedo black Memento ink is totally dry. And I just like to, put that aside for a minute and let it have its way. Okay, let's take one of these images and let's start adding some color. Now, I'm going to use the Bermuda Bay for my male mallard duck, and I'm going to just use circular motions here. I'm using less color you know, on the neck side, I'm actually adding a little bit of Pacific Point. Now, my favorite way to use the watercolor pencils is to use a blender pen right alongside, and that just takes out all of the like brush strokes, well, the pencil strokes, and it just smooths everything out. And it also allows me to remove a little bit of color. I always want to clear my pen on the grid paper before I go to another color. Now I'm going to do a little bit of fun work with the Early Espresso. Early Espresso, I'm going to put quite a bit on his neck and all down his back. And I'm going to also do my lady duck along her sides here, along the top of her head here. And this is my Early Espresso. And then I'm going to go just really light here because I want that to basically be like a kind of a crumb cake. Now what's going to happen, you see how you can see a little bit of the brush strokes is not very smooth. So I'm going to come along here and I'm going to smooth that out with my blender pen. Now if I pull, I can pull some of this darker bit in here, but I don't want to. I want to leave this a little bit light, and you can see how I'm able to just pull that color. And this is one of the fabulous things about your blender pens. They come in a pack of 3, they'll last you for years. Now you can see I'm clearing my pen each time. I'm going to come back in here and give it a little bit more here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Daffodil Delight for the beaks and also for the feet. And just to give a little bit of variation between the feet and the beaks, I'm going to get a little bit of pumpkin pie in those feet. So they're more of a yellowy, an orangey yellow, and the beaks are a little bit more of a bright, clear yellow. And I don't need to clear that because I'm just going right back into yellow here. I'm going to go back over where I've added a little bit more of the Early Espresso. And now I'm going to come in with a bit of basic gray. And I'm going to color my male duck. And I'm going to put quite a bit of gray there. I'm going to put just a little bit here on my lady duck. And I'm also going to put a little bit right up here in his back. And I'm even going to add a little bit of basic black. That is a great way to just add a little bit of depth to anything that you're doing, and just a little bit of extra color, as it were. And I'm just shading, you know, I'm not shading, I'm blending those two colors so I don't have like a strong line of demarcation between them. Now I'm pretty happy with the way that they look. And if you look at my original card here that's done with the blends, you can see that really I've gotten a pretty similar, this is more saturated, but I've got a pretty similar look. Now I did put just a little bit of Daffodil Delight right here to kind of give it a little bit of lightness to the female. And I also did, let me grab that black again. I'm going to put a little bit of black in with this to really darken up that belly. So it's darker gray and a little bit up here. And then last but not least, I'm going to add a little bit of green down here to my duckies. They are in a little bit of a grassy area. And I am actually pretty happy with that. I'm going to take my white pencil and just add a little bit, brighten up that collar. And you can see where I've left a little bit of white there on that cheek. That's actually intentional. So I can bring a little bit there just to kind of bring a little bit of light there. And now this little guy is ready to attach to my frame of soft suede. Just going for a real natural look. These are cards that celebrate nature. The Stylish Sketches is a great stamp set for any nature lover. It is just gorgeous, gorgeous images. Now I'm going to do this like so. And I think just to tie in a little bit of I think that one's got a little bit more ink over here. Just to tie in a little bit of ribbon, I'm just going to take a small length of Simply Succulent, no, Soft Succulent ribbon. I'm going to tie a knot and kind of bring it like so, and then I'm going to wrap it. Now I want this to be kind of over here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a fair bit of seal all the way down, because I'm going to be sticking this to my card front, and I'm going to lay this, get the pretty part of the knot there. And you know, when you do a knot like this, and I don't have any tails, any ribbon tails or anything, it's just a really nice way to give kind of a tailored look with your ribbon and not add a lot of bulk or anything. Now I'm going to add just a little bit more seal just to make sure that sticks really well. Make sure my card is, yeah, I've definitely put my card together upside down on more than one occasion. And now this is ready to pop right here. Oh, I like that a lot. And I'm going to pop that up on a few dimensionals. Oh, I forgot to do something. I need to put my blending brushes, and I'm going to do it right on top of the soft suede because you won't be able to tell. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of, this is soft seafoam, the palest green we have, and I'm going to start over here and bring in, it's just going to take away some of the raw look of that basic white cardstock and just bring a little bit more softness to my nature card. So there's the soft seafoam. Now let's try a little bit of balmy blue. This is the perfect color for sky. And here's my blue brush. And that is going to, I didn't actually got a little bit of a smudge up there that I didn't intend, but this is why I like to start my brush over here on my paper to avoid a little bit of a brush mark. I've probably gotten a little bit of a hurry there. And I'm just going to bring this down the sides just a little bit. And I do like, for the most part, to use, oh, I think I'm actually adding ink there with my fingers. I really like to use a circular motion, but sometimes I get a little carried away. And okay, now that has a much softer look, much more like a true watercolor print. So now that is going to go like so, and I'm really, really happy with this. Did I get this on straight? I think I did. Let's see. Am I straight? Let's see. Yeah, I think I am. Let me bring this up just a wee bit. You know, I put a lot of seal on here. The nice thing about seal is it's pretty soft until it completely dries. So typically, as long as you go in there within the first, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, you can shift it a little bit. And then just press it down really well. Now I have my dimensionals, and they are going to go like so. So again, this is just a really soft look using watercolor pencils and a blender pen with the Stylish Sketches free stamp set during Celebration, Summer Celebration 2022. That is done and dusted, and I'm really happy with that kind of watercolor print. Perfect for a guy, a girl, an adult, a child. I could give this to anybody. My grandkids are big nature lovers, and they would love this, and they're grade school. Now, let's do the same thing, but let's bring in the blends, and we'll do a side-by-side comparison. So I'm going to use the blends markers. I'll put my watercolor pencils away in here, and there is a lid for this blender pen somewhere. Let's put these off to the side, and I'm going to use the same basic color scheme. I need to grab my Daffodil because I forgot it. And let's actually start with the Daffodil, because I'd like to start with the light colors first. And I'm using the fine tip on pretty much everything I'm going to do, because these are small images. And here I can just color these in. But I am going to do a little bit of shading with this, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to come in next. Now I probably should go to my lady duck, and let's get my light and dark crumb cake. So let's start with the dark crumb cake, and let's go along the outside of her body here, and then along the top of her head. And let's put a little bit over here as well on the top of my male duck. And then let's bring in the light crumb cake, and let's color her cheek, and then bring the color down into her chest area and just blend that out. Now, I do like to put just a little bit of the light Daffodil Delight down the center, just to give her a little bit of color there. And then I'm going to come back in here, and this time I'm going to actually use the brush tip and really, yeah, is that the right, yeah, this is the light, okay. Once you start adding more layers of it, sometimes it gets a little bit darker. But I can come back in here with my color lifter once it dries, if it's a little bit too light or too dark. Now, the one thing I had forgotten was I did put a little bit of this light soft suede just to give her a little bit more, yeah, see how that gives her just a little bit more depth of color. And again, that is just using the soft suede and the crumb cake. Now, I am going to take, while I have the female here, I'm going to take my color lifter and just bring a little bit of her cheek, just to bring a little bit of light there, and maybe just a little bit right down here. Okay, now I'm ready to work on the masculine guy, the male duck. And I'm actually going to come back over here with the dark soft suede and really give that a good outline, and a good outline there, because the crumb cake is just not enough for him. And then I'm going to come along here with the dark smoky slate, and I'm going to come right along here and right along there, and really, really bring in that chest. And now I'm going to use my brush tip, and that's going to allow me, this is the light smoky slate, to just blend all of this together so I don't have any harsh lines. Everything is nicely blended out, and I'm using the soft, the smoky slate. Now I'm actually, see, once I see that, I can tell this is going to need a little bit more of this dark smoky slate. Yeah, see how that just gives a lot more depth. A lot more depth. I'm looking for contrast there. The contrast is what helps give it a lot of character and also to look more realistic. Just bring that in. Now comes the fun part. Mallard ducks have this gorgeous, gorgeous teal head, the males do, and Bermuda Bay is the perfect color for this. I'm using dark Bermuda Bay right there. And then I'm going to come along and I'm going to bring light Bermuda Bay. And when you hear that snap, it's because when you close the blends markers, you want to hear that snap. They're very, it's a very tight seal, and that's because they're alcohol markers. And if they're not closed well, they're going to dry out quickly because they are alcohol. So we don't want that to happen. Now, this is the light and the dark Bermuda Bay, and you may feel like there's not a whole lot of difference there. There is, he is darker on the very top, but I'm going to bring in a little bit more difference because I'm going to bring in the color lifter right along his cheek and his eye, and just bring that so that you can see his eye a little bit better. And that's going to bring a little bit more depth. So now let's bring, I think they're pretty much ready to go. Oh, almost forgot it again, the blending brushes. So I've already added all of my, my Stampin' Blends markers, and I'm going to ink up the Balmy Blue Perfect Sky color, and I'm just gonna add a little bit, just take that raw white out of my cardstock and give them a true sky look, and go along the sides and the top of my little piece here. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of the soft seafoam along the bottom where the, oh, I forgot to add my little green, ground there. Just get a little bit of the light. I'm going to use a little bit of the light. Ooh, that's probably darker than I intended, but I think it's going to work. That is the light Old Olive. I should have picked up soft seafoam because that's what I'm using here, but that's okay. It's going to work. It's just a little tiny bit. So now a little bit of soft seafoam. Bring in the ground that they are on, and that's going to bring just the right touch of color. Now they're ready to go into their soft seafoam frame. And when you're using your blends markers, they're going to bleed through your paper, so you always want to make sure you have some scrap paper underneath you when you're using your blends markers. Now, this time I'm not going to use the ribbon. I'm going to use a little bit of an embellishment instead, just to kind of change it up a little bit. So give you another option for how you could change up the look of this. Let's bring that like so. And then we are ready to put our art piece on here and do a side-by-side comparison of the blends versus the watercolor pencils. And let's just see which we like better. Again, the watercolor pencils are very, very affordable. You can get both sets. I'll list them. I don't have the number out of the top of my head, but I will list them underneath my video here. And honestly, they're very, very affordable, and they'll last you for years. The blends are fabulous. I mean, they're very quick. You get a real depth and saturation of color with them. So it's just a different experience and a different product. Definitely a different price point. You see that I have both. Let me grab my, see if we can find a little embellishment to put on there. It just needs a little something, something. Let's see what I can find here. I think we're going to bring, this is the brushed metallic adhesive back dots. There's the lid for my blender pen. So let's see if I can lift these. I think this kind of darker, this darker color is going to look really nice there. Oh, I like that. And let's just do 3 in a row, almost like a little buckle here. And that's going to, whoopsie, that's going to give me just a little bit of interest there, a little bit of shine, just a little something to bring it all together, that little finishing touch. Okay, now let's do side-by-side comparison. This is with the Stampin' Blends markers, and this is with the watercolor pencil. So you can see the depth. There's a lot more saturation color here. This is much lighter here. You know, the nice thing is you can come back here, and if you decide you didn't blend that out as much as you wanted, you can come back in here. You can add more color to it. You can add more blending to it. And so that is the way to use your watercolor pencils or your Stampin' Blends to really bring the Stylish Sketches stamp set to life. Beautiful, beautiful images. We used both of these today. This is what we used here for just a little bit of interest. And this is the main attraction, our mallard ducks. Thank you so much for watching. I have links below for you so that you can see in my online store the actual products and if you wish to purchase them. Thank you so much. I would love for you to give me a thumbs up here and also to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and God bless.